Oh, hey there. You've caught me at a bad time. You see, I'm currently fighting for my life here on Pokemon Showdown, and this is a massive tournament, and it's a format I don't play, so I'm a little distracted here. There's also $1,200 up for grabs, and no, my team's pretty good actually, it's nothing like that. Well, see, the thing is, this is my opponent, Mana. He won the last tournament entirely, and I'm brand new. But you see, right here, my next move could secure me the biggest upset in probably the history of this entire tournament. Or, of course, I can just lose and go home packing. I'm sorry, this is all sudden and you're probably missing a lot of context. Let's rewind back to March. Oh. Okay, it's still going. It's still going. How do I turn this off? 2003? Oh, for fuck. As one of millions of kids growing up watching Pokemon, well, any time that I could, that line always stood out to me. There is an inherent competitive nature in Pokemon, whether it be the sheer size of your collection, how rare your Pokemon are, or, my favorite, how strong your Pokemon are. Now, with Pokemon being a video game, there's of course hard limits on how strong a Pokemon can be, but that's where you, the trainer, comes in. Skill expression is one of the most beautiful things in competition, and throughout all of history, every competitive league worth keeping around has its fair share of skill to show off. This is one of the main reasons why competitive Pokemon is bigger than ever before, with thousands in attendance to see trainers of all ages pit their digital companions against each other for fame and glory and, some prize money, I guess, but that's not really important. Of course, VGC is not the be-all, end-all of competitive Pokemon. If you're even a casual, or spent enough time in a computer lab next to a turbo nerd like myself, you would have experienced Pokemon Showdown, the one-stop shop for all things competitive Pokemon. You can play a completely random 6v6, you can play literal 1v1s, you can play with just baby Pokemon, or you can just queue up a bunch of legendaries like a little brother would. Now, some formats add a few rules with some basic restrictions, and some completely change how the game is even played, going so far to rework core mechanics just to give you that brand new fresh experience. You can even join no-stakes tournaments right in the chat lobbies, or just ones with your friends, or ones on the Smogon Forums. Or you can take on some of the best and play in full-on tournament circuits, and maybe, just maybe, make a bit of money on the side. But again, that's not important. It's about the competition, of course. But what if I told you there's something even deeper? A format that even Showdown itself rarely supports. A format designed for the real sickos of competitive Pokemon. Draft. Yeah, I'm one of those sickos too. Anyways, now you're probably asking, what's Draft League? Well, now that's a great question. You draft Pokemon and fight. That wasn't helpful? Okay, hold on. Draft League is a limited format wherein you and a group of other players, called a draft pod or pool, take turns selecting Pokemon from a list to build teams around. Draft Leagues tend to revolve around pre-existing singles formats. Think of Gen 6 OU, or Gen 9 OU, or Gen 3 OU. This takes a familiar metagame and shakes it up. How does it shake it up? It's quite simple, really. Pokemon are assigned point values, just as encourages diversity and deeper draft strategies, while also price locking some of the best. This is also so you're not punished for being last in the pick order. With having a preset point balance, this puts you in a position where you have to draft a diverse, deep team and not just scramble for the best of the best. Drafting is done in the snake format. To give you an example, I threw up my fantasy baseball one for you. And then once you draft your team, that's it. Checks out. Got it? Great. Now, I forgot the part that actually probably interested you. Cash prizes. Now, like I said before, draft leagues are for the sickos. And to keep these circuits alive, and well, donations and paid entry are almost essential to this ecosystem. For example, I paid like $5 or $10 to guarantee my spot. This all leads to my most recent endeavor, joining the Emerald Open 5. Combined total, $1,200 prize pool up for grabs. See, the thing is, though, there's one problem. I don't play draft. One of the big draws of Draft League is definitely the prep and building phases. You get days, or even in my case, a week or 2 weeks, to build the perfect team against one opponent. You get to pour hours into the items, the sets, the EV spreads, the matchups, all in all to come down to one 5-10 minute battle. You can spend hours or even days trying to build the perfect team for your opponent and still lose in the end. Isn't that fun? It's different than ladder. When you build a team for ladder, you're looking for ways to beat the curve or cover all your bases or have the best general approach to farm Charizard Fan 999 and little Timmy playing Showdown under the dinner table. But in draft, you can't do that. You have to play to your weaknesses. You have to cover your outs because your opponent has as much information as you do, putting you in a true head-to-head battle. A true head-to-head battle in all ways. Wits, skill. I think that's it. Wits and skill, yeah. Now, as the name suggests, the Emerald Open is a draft league that revolves around the Ruby Sapphire Emerald, or what we know as Gen 3, or in Smogon terms, ADV, or Advance. For simplicity's sakes, you'll be hearing a lot of Gen 3 and ADV for the rest of this video. Now, I don't have a lot of experience with ADV. Yes, so already not off to a great start. Now, to be clear, I have a little bit. I went 0-6 on Gen 3 OU a couple months ago, and I said, I'm not playing this tier ever again, and I instead played 100 games of Gen 3 BL, which covers UU, and then the massive list of borderline Pokemon that are banned from UU and aren't very good in OU. And I even took that and made a creator tournament about that. But that's a story for another time. So I'm going to be real for a second here. Gen 3 is a big adjustment if your most played gens are 7 and 9, like me. Gen 7 and 9 reward a lot of progress. You're playing towards small tempo leads. And in Gen 7, you can catch some big KOs. Same with Gen 9 with like Terra and Z-Move. In Gen 3, you don't get progress moves. You don't have U-turn. You don't have Volt Switch. You have Baton Pass and Hard Switch. A lot of the plays are revolving around huge swings in tempo, hard counters, reads, as well as a really deep utility pool that you have to play around. The roles that Pokemon are forced into in modern metagames are very defined due to the massive power creep, as well as just overall power scaling. So Pokemon like Swampert in Gen 9 look massively different than what they do in Gen 3. What makes draft interesting in general is all the top tier threats you see in any format are now no longer all within your team builder. You have to fight for them. In Gen 3, those top tier threats are Metagross, Tyranitar, Salamence, Raikou to an extent, and there are some really great core pickups like Snorlax as well. There's even some niche picks like Dugtrio, Skarmory, Blissey. The list does go on, but I think that's a good 8 to pick from. Now, with all that preamble out of the way, let's break down my draft and see if I even have a fighting chance at this. Considering there was 400 entrants into this tournament, drafting is difficult. So what they do is they break it down into drafting pools, specifically of 8 players. You go in a snake format, so pick 1 all the way to pick 8, and then pick 8 gets to go again, bringing it all the way back to 1, and the cycle repeats. It kind of sucks if you get put in the middle in a lot of ways. Yeah, I got put 4th, so I was dead middle. Now, being in the middle of the draft, you kind of take what's given to you, and in the first 3 picks we saw Metagross go, Salamence go, and surprisingly, Dugtrio get picked. So I did have a wide variety of options. Part of me, the evil part of me, wanted to go stall. I really wanted to lock in like Snorlax, Skarmory, Blissey, call it a day. I went Tyranitar. Now, Tyranitar is probably one of the most interesting Pokemon you could pick up in that first group of 6. Tyranitar is literally the Godzilla of Generation 3. It's impossible to kill. He always comes back. He'll drop a landslide on your head, or if he's feeling cheeky, he'll fire an ice beam to your dome. It's wonderful. Tyranitar has insane depth, okay? He has about 5 viable sets you can work with. There's Choice Band, there's Fast Dragon Dance, there's Bulky Dragon Dance, then there's a mixed set with Pursuit Trapping of Ghost types, and you can also just run him as a generic beefy, tanky Pokemon, using Toxic, as well as really high space stab and other really strong stats. In Generation 3, Sandstream creates permanent sand. This invalidates any Endurance set that can come your way, stuff like Reversal Metacham. What it also does is wear down your checks and just be generally annoying. And also puts a cool effect on the screen, so you can't complain about that. Tyranitar is just so good in a vacuum. The problem is that all those great things about Tyranitar also cause you problems in the drafting phase. I've now locked myself out from any sort of Endure shenanigans with a lot of Pokemon, and I also need to build around him. Of course, Tyranitar has quad weakness to fighting, and he is pretty slow. So while I'm already putting pressure on my theoretical future opponents, I now have the pressure on myself to build properly around Tyranitar. So the next 7 picks will define how well this goes. With my next pick coming around, I immediately grabbed Swampert. I was really surprised it got left up, so I took it instantly. Swampert is an elite defensive pivot with great utility depth with the likes of Substitute, Roar, Toxic, Refresh, as well as strong stab moves and some real offensive potential. Swampert is night and day in Generation 3 to Generation 9. I'm used to like Gen 6 Swampert where you click rocks and click Protect and maybe get off a Toxic and do like 20% damage with Scald. Generation 3 Swampert doesn't fuck around, okay? Hydro Pump kills you. Earthquake kills you. I won't spoil too much more, but if you're used to that leftovers, click rocks, click Scald pert, that's washed Swampert, okay? In Generation 3, this is GOAT Swampert. You have no idea the sets he can run, right? What do you know about Refresh Swampert, okay? What do you know about that, huh? Yeah, I'm gatekeeping Swampert sets. This is what I do on my weekends. Going into third round of picks, I was surprised to say the least. Gengar is an excellent pairing with Tyranitar, even in normal OU, so to see it be up in a draft, it was almost an instant pick. While the complementary typing is obvious, Gengar's utility and Gengar's speed is what really makes it shine and helps it kneecap the fighting types, shut down waters, and just overall be a huge nuisance. At this point, I've established a pretty strong core, at least a threatening one, but I'm still glaringly weak to grass types. Pokemon like Celebi, Breloom, as well as Venusaur are problems right now, to say the least. So at this point, I was eyeing some steel types, stuff like Registeel, Fortress. But then I realized I don't have an answer to steel types. The best I have is like Focus Punch Tyranitar, which does like 40% to Registeel. And Metagross still exists, so I needed something a bit better. I needed to break 2 stones with 1 bird. Moltres. Moltres is that bird. What makes Moltres really good is not only, of course, does it laugh in the face of all those aforementioned grass types, it naturally outspeeds and threatens most of the steel types I'm going to see. It also doubles as an emergency fighting type check to anything that's not named Hariyama. But the one interesting thing about Moltres is the way Game Freak designed legendaries in the first couple of games is that they all got the same rough utility package. So Moltres has access to stuff like Roar, Substitute, Toxic, Thunderwave, and of course Will-O-Wisp. So while my first 2 slots are going to be Flamethrower and a Hidden Power, I can then slot in any sort of utility move that I can need. Unfortunately, I don't have Roost or Recover or anything like that, so I'm pretty stuck with... I don't have any sort of recovery other than leftovers, but I can't complain about leftovers, can I? Overall, Moltres rounds me out defensively here, giving me no real weak spots. Moltres rounds me out defensively somewhat, but mostly rounds the team out offensively. And you can't really laugh at those stats in Gen 3. It's pretty good. At this point in the draft, I was pretty happy, and yeah, I was pretty happy. So I took a gamble. I knew from even as early as pick 2 that I needed a strong ice type. Why? I don't know. That was just what I learned. I did a lot of research. Going into this. I pored over spreadsheets. I watched replays, asked a lot of questions, just looked at other people's drafts, and apparently I need a good ice type. Probably something. Now, of course, ice types get a bad rep. And there's a good reason why. Defensively, they're terrible. But in Gen 3, things are a little different. And there's 2 ice types that come to mind. Glalie and Regice. To keep it brief, Glalie sets up spikes. It's a good anti-lead. It can explode sometimes. Normal anti-lead stuff. Regice offers massive special defense. Bit more utility on the status side. And it actually hits pretty hard. So I thought, okay, well, whichever one is left up, I'll just pick that one. Both were left up when it came to my pick, so I could either go Glalie or Regice, and I didn't know. So I went on Google and I coin flipped, and it landed on Regice. Welcome to the team, Regice. Honestly, Regice is really solid. It can sit on special threats. It can also explode. Hits really hard. And overall, it's actually pretty complimentary. I do see the vision. I'm not fully convinced yet, but that is what the battle phase is for. But it does offensively round out my team quite nicely. Overall, Regice hits hard, tanks hard, and makes sure grass and ground types don't ever get a chance to even come in. And if you bring in something extra bulky, I'll just click Toxic. Wonderful. Now with my current roster of Tyranitar, Swampert, Gengar, Moltres, and now Regice, offensively, I'm in a really good position. I have a lot of coverage. I have a lot of utility. Defensively, at least typing-wise, I'm pretty solid. This team looks good, right? I don't think there's anything that I'm missing. Something glaring. Like, I feel like I missed something along the way. Oh. Yeah, I forgot about spikes. To say that spikes are crucial to the ADV metagame would be an understatement. It is the ADV metagame. It's been spikes. It's been spikes the whole time. A lot of the theory surrounding leadoff Pokemon, as well as your first 6 turns in Generation 3, revolve around spikes. You're either setting them up, or you're preventing the spikes from being set up. Now, this can get deep into multiple layers, but to keep it short, it's all about spikes. Now, I'm on my 6th pick. I don't have a spiker. I don't have something that can remove spikes or prevent them quite well. And there's not a lot left on the draft board. So I need to find something that sets spikes, prevents spikes, maybe does something a little bit more, hopefully. Hopefully maybe some complementary typing. And like, hey, maybe it's a good alternate leadoff as well. Is there a Pokemon that's like that? Is there a unicorn that can do all those things? Yeah, of course there is. It's Smeargle. Duh. Smeargle's amazing. I mean, I could talk for like an hour about Smeargle. The problem is that it's like 2 in the morning, and I want to go to bed. So, to put it shortly, Smeargle can do everything. Can it do all of it well? No. It's very good at setting up spikes, and it's very good at keeping them up. I know what you're thinking. Smeargle has the defenses of a wet paper napkin, and you're right, but that's kind of a good thing. You see, take this Smeargle with like 2 defense, right? And throw it up against this Zapdos with a billion special attack. What happens here is that, you click Thunderbolt, but I click Endure, and I have a Slackberry. Now I click Spore, and then I click Spike, and then I click Spike, and then I click Spike. My Smeargle's already dead, with 3 layers of spikes up and a sleeping Pokemon, or you forfeited, because there's 3 layers of spikes up and you have a sleeping Pokemon. And that's just like the tip of the iceberg. There's Baton Pass sets, there's all sorts of weird anti-lead cheese. There's matchup-specific sets you can run. You can even run anti-Smeargle sets. It gets crazy deep, okay? As a bonus, Smeargle can pass Belly Drum, it can pass Agility, it can pass Tail Glow. All of that can be passed on to my, as you've already seen, myriad of offensive threats. Great pickup. Really great pickup for slot 6. Now, with 8 points left, that's basically enough for me to get a bag of chips and a soda, so I had to spend it wisely. I picked up Grumpig and I picked up Pikachu. Now, Grumpig does 2 things. It clicks Trick, it clicks Calm Mind. You gotta pick which one it does. Jokes aside, Grumpig is a quite solid Psychic type, gives me that extra typing round out. Now I have a Dark Psychic Ghost core on top of my Fire Water Grass core. It helps me a lot against those slow, bulky teams. I can trick things onto a Blissey, I can click Calm Mind onto Vaporeon, and it just gives me that little bit of a draft edge against those slow, bulky teams. We'll run over it if we get that far, okay? Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. In Pikachu, you might be thinking, okay, is that just like a joke pick? Pikachu's not a joke. Light Ball and Volt Tackle chunks most things, kills others. Agility Pass can help it a lot. That's about it though. It's a budget bomb, but I can't complain about a budget bomb for my 8th pick. If I happen to run it and it comes out after a Memento or an Explosion, it's also in a really good position. So again, just like Grumpig, we'll see if we make it that far. Overall, I think I'd give a draft a 7, maybe a 6. You'd probably agree with that, right? Now, even if you gave it a 10, I'd be flattered, but even if you gave it a 10, drafting is only a fraction of the battle. The prep and the execution is most of what constitutes a good draft player from a great draft player. Draft aside, it all depends on how I use it. But I did take some consensus opinions. I did go ask the Discord, hey, what do you guys think about my first ever Gen 3 draft? I got some interesting comments. One of them was, how is this allowed? The other was, lol, were you in a 2-person draft pool? And even the great LRXC chimed in to say, wow, Paladin, you're so smart. You're so talented. What a great draft. Don't go check what he actually said in the Discord. So yeah, I think I'm pretty much set. But of course, there's always a wrench, right? There's always a wrench. After your drafting phase, you get put into a battle pool with different random players. And me being little Timmy with his propeller beanie had no idea that apparently I got seeded into one of the toughest battle pools there is. So yeah, but hey, who doesn't love a good underdog story? Okay, here we are at the analyst desk. Now, I have not scripted any of this out. This is raw, off the dome analysis here. I have a little bit of prep, and I have all my replays, and we're going to go over them somewhat quickly. First and foremost, we had a ADV fella here. Now, the thing about prepping is you never know. You can only really guess so much. So this is basically like an active team builder sheet here. This is the Showdex plugin. Yeah, it's an extension. So it's like a Chrome extension or a Firefox extension, which helps prep for tournaments and be an active calculator in your sidebar. Very helpful. Anyways, so when I was doing this prep, my inevitable conclusion was basically, set up Sweep Tyranitar and a lot of more offensive yet coverage-based sets, because all I could really get from his team is that he had a lot of slow, fat, bulky Pokemon. Stuff like Cloyster, Tyranitar, Venusaur, one of the Reggies, Regirock, Moltres. So I was thinking he's either going to bring double waters or double grass types. We'll hop right into it. So here against ADV Vela, it started off with a Smeargle lead. This is classic stuff, right? So the idea here is I'm going to try and set up. Now, I know that all my opponents know this, and the goal is to kind of see how they react and prep and how I can try and play around it. And not looking good with the substitute start, but we get some spikes up, No big deal. And the first problem comes in, of course, he clicks the Thunderbolt. I believe it's a range. I don't know why I clicked Memento. And Slackberry procs, we get up 2 spikes, but this is a Jolteon behind a substitute. So I bring in Tyranitar, and I'm feeling like I'm a little screwed. But we persevere. He clicks Thunderbolt. I Quake to get the substitute down. And, well, at least I'm in a decent position here. Thunderbolt won't kill me, so I can go for a Dragon Dance, or I can go for a Reed. Now, I don't know why, but I clicked Earthquake. So here's the problem. Dragon Dance doesn't let me outspeed Jolteon at +1. But Rock Slide is still the best play. Why? Well, here's the thing. If you look at some of the damage rolls to a generic Jolteon, which, as you may have noticed, I didn't really prep for some reason. Let me go back to Tyranitar. Rock Slide still kills. Sorry. Rock Slide very likely kills it under Sand. It's almost guaranteed with Sand Chip, I believe. I think it's guaranteed. Now, sure, there's a mischance, I guess. But it covers the very obvious Moltres switch, because he's obviously going to bring Moltres. So I missed the very obvious, I wouldn't even call it a 50-50, I missed the very obvious read here, and now I'm in a horrible position here. So he hits the HP Grass, I live, Rock Slide comes out, kills Moltres. Now, there is a universe where I have a 50% Tyranitar with spikes up, and now I have to sack Tyranitar, or do I? So I go Regice, hoping that I can bring T-Tar in for a later sack, as I know he's going to click something that's going to do about 20% to Regice. Baton passes again for tempo. Regirock eats an Ice Beam for 25. What can you really do? I know I tanked this because I put some defense investments in this. I click Ice Beam again. I'm fishing for a freeze and some chip here, but I'm in a bad spot. So I go Swampert finally. Eats the Rock Slide with, absolutely zero issue. And here's the one water type, Cloyster. Okay, not what I was expecting, really. I don't know what I was expecting on this team, but I was expecting him to bring in like a Venusaur or something here. So I roar it out, and unfortunately it pulls Jolteon. Not the best RNG, of course, but we prevail. This is where the T-Tar sack comes in, and I bring in Regice. And it's not looking good. Regice dies. I bring in Grumpig. I'm tilted out of my skull, making bad plays. I missed the read. Roar RNG didn't go my way. He brings out his Tyranitar. I'm Calm Mind. I'm not Focus Punch. I'm not Counter. Toxic misses. It's basically game over. So he says sorry for the Toxic miss. It doesn't really matter at this point. Now you might be thinking, well, you're basically saying it's over. Why are you still playing? Why don't you just forfeit and go next? The thing is, in these draft tournaments, the actual amount of Mons you have at the end counts. So every death counts. And I'm sure there's basically no angle for a comeback win, but I'm not going to let this guy get a bunch of free points on me and have a 5-0 in his record just to, just because. And yeah, he's HP Grass, which is smart, but I can't really play around that, can I? I only have 3 months. So there's a lot of back and forth. Gengar can't do much. And I lose pretty convincingly to ADV Fella. And I'm not happy. I'm not happy with that loss. So the weeks go on. I'm planning and prepping more. And I come across an interesting thing. So my next opponent is this guy named WMAR, however you want to pronounce it. And he has a really interesting core. He has Fortress, he has Hariyama, which brutalizes my team. He has Flygon, which is a fan favorite, but I'm not too sure about his potency in draft. Aerodactyl, basically the physical equivalent of Jolteon, both less utility and rock typing. Alakazam, which is, fancy Grumpig, I guess. And he also has a Swampert. And he had 2 other mons that I didn't think would come in, so I didn't really bother prepping for them. And I was doing some calcs, and I kind of realized that max special attack Swampert kind of has no counterplay against his team. Ice Beam and Surf destroy everything. Now you're thinking, well, it's a Swampert, right? Its speed is about 219. Yeah, that's the thing. I have a Smeargle. Now, Smeargle can baton pass all sorts of interesting things. I won't spoil the surprise. So here we go. He leads Alakazam, and I lead Smeargle, obviously. Now, the Smeargle lead's really obvious, so he preps with Focus Punch Alakazam. Pretty interesting stuff. Put it to sleep. Then we see him just commit to the Focus Punch. I say okay, and I click Agility. He clicks Focus Punch again. I sub up, realizing I'm probably playing a bit greedy, and I'm correct. But now I'm faster than everything, so I click Spore for free again. Really fun and interactive stuff here. Set up another substitute, which you'll see why in a bit. And I click Baton Pass, and in comes Swampert. Now this is, as you've seen, max special attack. It's also behind a substitute, and now it's 2 times speed. It was perfectly EV'd on my team to outspeed at +2 Aerodactyl, who just can't outspeed it, even if it's modest. So we're in a really great position here. I click Surf. Alakazam is still asleep. And then there's 1 down. Great start. I have my full setup, and he has nothing. Here comes Hariyama, which I was worried about, but I think it's no point in overthinking it. There's no point in switching out and losing all my setup just because I'm scared. And I click Surf again. He clicks Knockoff. For a reason, I had Lumberry to protect from any toxic shenanigans. I click Surf, and there's a crit. Did the crit matter? I want to say a little bit, but ultimately not really. Here comes Swampert by Pred 4 with Hidden Power Grass. There's the Toxic Miss, which definitely sucks for him, but it's over. If he connected that Toxic, I think it would change one thing in the game, and we'll get to that in a sec. But HP Grass confers it to a KO. Here comes Flygon. Dies to Ice Beam. I think you guys are seeing where this is going to go. Hariyama comes back. I click Button. Brick Break does 36. He lives. So this is where the Toxic Chip would have mattered, for sure. I don't believe Torrent ranges would have changed anything, but point being, if the Toxic connected, this would probably be a 5. This is probably the bleeding would stop here on turn 18, 17 or so. And there's an Aerodactyl I prepped for. That's to Surf. So I land myself a big 6-0, and this is big, and I'll get to why later. But now I'm feeling great, and I have 2 more matches lined up for the rest of the day against some of the scarier players. I had Genius X and XRN. So Genius X is no joke of a player, okay? And I'm scared. I'm very, very scared. Did I even do prep for Genius X? It's here. I prepped for Genius X separately with someone I met in the Discord, so I don't have that here on my local machine. But it is a Smeargle lead, because I'm not creative. But I switched to Gengar. Now, I'm expecting a fighting type move here, and I get something equivalent as Fake Out. This is a classic anti Hariyama set, and then I'm baiting Hidden Power Ghost. So I am reading the crap out of Genius X, and I have successfully somewhat prepared for the anti-lead Hariyama. Okay. Click Spore. Unfortunately, it is Lumberry, and then he clicks Brick Break. So, that was 3 turns to scout his moveset and lose my Smeargle anyways. I bring in Grumpig and I click Calm Mind. And HP Ghost still hurts, but I think, okay, at least I have some stability here. I click Psychic for 78% damage. And I'm in an okay position. I'm threatening his Hariyama. He sacks it, thankfully. Okay, it's not a complete waste. But then there's a Houndoom, and I live with 1, so I can rest back up. Crazy clutch from the pig. In comes T-Tar. I tank the Crunch Special Defense drop. Now it might be scary because of an HP Grass, but I take my chances and I go for the win. So he clicks Will-O-Wisp. I have Lumberry. And I get to click Earthquake. Always kills. Crit does not matter there. Now I'm up big time. Here comes Vaporeon, which I did prep for with Swampert. So Swampert takes a lot of damage here. He's looking a little grim, and he goes Venusaur. Toxic misses. Very scary position for me, but Gengar is a poison type. And he has nothing else to really do against his team for now. And then I double back into Grumpig to get the Leech Seed off and to kill a Sleep turn. Now, he Leech Seeds again. Leech Seeds again. It's Sleep Talk, as you might have guessed. Now Venusaur's threatened. And I just have Calm Mind, Sleep Talk, and Rest to stall out the rest of the game, as from what I see at least in front of me. Of course, with Gen 3, you can't see the team. And yeah, I wake up. I click Sleep Talk because I can't count, and I waste a turn, but that's okay. It's looking a little grim with the Sand and the Leech Seed chip, and he reveals Aerodactyl. Bit of an information win for me here, because now I know, even though I did prep for it. I go back into Swampert. He goes Sub, which I did not expect, and I'm a little scared now. Double Edge for some good chip damage. Ice Beam brings it down. Goes back into Venusaur. Reading the Surf correctly. Fair enough. I go back into Gengar, and the cycle repeats itself. But this time he clicks Sleep Powder. So things are going to go a little differently now. But I stay in to kill the Sleep turn and to see what he does, because I'm okay with eating a Leech Seed. Now, this is where some of the shenanigans come up here. I finally wake up. And I hit him with, I believe... What even Hidden Power was that? I don't even know. Hidden Power Electric, I think? Absolutely chunks him, and I dodge the Rock Slide, which is huge. I dodge the Rock Slide again, which is just gross. I click Psychic to cover the Venusaur switch. And I'm like in the chat, wow, that sucks, because it does. I explode away to chunk the Zapdos, and I go for basically the finish here. This Gengar has done all that he's worth for. Zapdos is at no percent. Venusaur's at 45. Vaporeon's annoying, but with multiple mons to take it down, it shouldn't be a problem. Substitute lets me 2-hit tank Zapdos, and I cannot get put to sleep. That was basically my plan with the Regi set, is to be really annoying. And he does just that. Takes down Venusaur, and this one Vaporeon with the Dream, as you might have assuming, can't get her done. And Genius X missed every status move and every Rock Slide. So I had a pretty convincing 4-0 win. I do believe with the Tyranitar in the back, a Swampert, and, you know, set up Grumpig with not much to really take it down, I was still in a very winning position. But that 4-0 did put me in some good spirits here, hoping that I could take that and, you know, try and clinch a 3-1 and put myself right to the playoffs. So this is me versus XRN, also known as Pikachu Man 33. Now, I'm going to get something out of the way really quick. This was not the right team. Now, it was the right team in terms of composition. Some of the EVs weren't correct. Some of the moves weren't. That doesn't change the fact that I clicked Spore and he was Lumberry. But it explains why, after I Ice Punch him in the head and one-hit KO, now I'm expecting to click Explosion here and chunk this Houndoom, or click Destiny Bond. I don't really quite remember what my play was, but I got crunched. And I realized this was not the speediest set that I intended it to be. Gengar, of course, is much faster than Houndoom, so yeah, I'm down him on. And it's starting to look a little grim here. I do have Focus Punch Tyranitar. This is Choice Band set, meant to break some of his other threats. I do also have a Trick Grumpig here, which is meant to cripple things like Houndoom, which I do get correctly. But I am overplaying into Pursuit here. I still get crunched. I could have very safely went Tyranitar, and I think I should have, but I was expecting him to click like HP Grass, hence the Moltres. And, you know, I really want to get the upper hand on him here. Unfortunately, it's not looking good. He goes back into Houndoom to speed check me here. I protect to at least bait out the crunch so I can double back safely, and now that I know because he's choice banned. I stay in for some reason. I honestly couldn't say why. I expected maybe a double there, and I wanted to click the hidden power. He brings in Sceptile, and that was the big mistake there. Grumpig is decently tanky, but Sceptile can still do a lot of damage, and I also know that Sceptiles usually run crunch. Tyranitar could have came in a long time ago and saved Moltres' HP here, and it's basically over. So I misplayed. I didn't read my EVs correctly, and yeah, I get swept. Can't really shut down Snorlax with no Mons. Sceptile wipes me out, and I'm thinking that's it. My tourney runs over. But I get saved. I get saved by one special rule. So this is going to be the full breakdown of me versus Mana, aka banned Manaphy. Now, for once, I didn't bring Spore. It's an Endure set, and I read correctly, and Regice clicked Superpower. That's big. I'm select up, and I get to click Explosion here. McMegan joins my battle. I've watched a lot of McMegan replays in my time. Huge fan. Think of this as like, I don't know, you go to a sports game and your favorite player just shows up to watch you like skate around the ice, shoot some hoops, run around the bases, like whatever sports metaphor you want to put in. And he's just there chilling, just watching you. He's like, how's it going, kid? So that's McMegan. So I'm crying. I sob. He doesn't even respond to me because he's McMegan. So it's T-Tar now. He brings him a champ. Very much exploiting my fighting type weakness naturally on my team. Gengar comes in. Reads me like a book. Clicks HP Ghost. Oh man. Oh man, oh man. Goes into his fortress. My protect is now useless. Playing on the back foot instead of playing on the front foot. I click Perish Song. I did have a play in mind to Perish Trap, I believe, either this exact fortress or something else. I bring in Swampert. He just do not care. The reason I switch is I realize that me Perish Songing and mean looking this fortress, it'll die and I'll be in the same position where I have to face down the Machamp. So I'm trying to set up a winning play. So I go into the Swampert and you'll see why. So he has to switch out. Click Surf. He just clicks Explosion. Same concept. It brings in Starmie behind Light Screen at 63%, spikes up. Hidden Power Grass. Brutal. Here comes Tyranitar. It is Pursuit Tyranitar. I brought Mixed Tyranitar. 41 through the Light Screen. In comes some champ. Light Screen goes down. It's not over yet. I go back into Gengar. Of course, he clicks the fighting type move. He can't screw around there. It is 4-on-4. I have a very bad Gengar set for this situation. So he goes down. And I also was expecting screens. So that's why I brought Brick Break. I'm telling you, I labbed this out for a long time. I did a lot of testing and training, and then here is, I think, the most pivotal moment of the fight. I click Substitute on Moltres. He goes for Rock Slide. And it's not looking good. I need him to miss one Rock Slide. That is my only way out. If he can miss one Rock Slide, I might be able to bring this back. And yes, we have finally got back to the hook of the video after, what, 30 minutes, 25 minutes? And I go for the other substitute. But unfortunately, can't make it happen. But there's the Pitaya Berry. Goes into Moltres. And I missed the read that probably would have changed everything. That's the flamethrower damage. I believe if we go all the way back here, and we Open the for all the marbles. HP electric. +1 is a roll to kill. So if that HP electric connected and killed, I would have taken down Moltres and have had Tyranitar and as you'll see shortly, something a bit more special here. The Pikachu. I brought the Pikachu. It gets the Thunderbolt kill. In comes Starmie. It's looking dire. I have to go to Tyranitar no matter what. Serves too much damage. It's just too much. I have to say GG. And that's the end of my tournament run. That's it, that's all. So yeah, as I say, I tried. I think I cooked. I got some help. I wouldn't say a lot of help. I got some help. I practiced. I had multiple different teams. I decided that the more aggressive team would probably be my best chance to cheese in a best of one. And as you saw, I got close. But like you saw all the way back with my first battle, I didn't go for the read for some weird reason. Because I knew either he'd stay in on the Machamp. Where is it? He'd stay in with Machamp. Yeah, sure, I do 73-86. But, you know, what does that accomplish here? Machamp goes down, this dies. He brings in one of his other threats. You know, it's difficult. It's a difficult play to make. But maybe, you know, I get the HP electric lead. Who knows? Who knows if this could have been different? Definitely, it could have been different if there was a rock slide miss. It definitely could have been different if, you know, all the way back at the beginning of the game, you know, I played around with Champ better. But that's all it really is, right? Just talking about, you know, what we could have done.